Why didn't you tell the world this?
When you're putting forward the idea of revolution, you have a responsibility to build in from the very beginning the realization that no revolution can take place successfully without an armed confrontation with the state. The imperialist power will fight as long as it can with the most advanced technological weapons that it has. And I feel that pacifism and nonviolence becomes an excuse for not struggling, for not fulfilling what I feel is a human obligation in this world to bring about revolutionary change and to destroy the imperialist system. Destroy the imperialist system. Destroy the imperialist system.
It's a mistake to think that violence is a choice in political matters. Violence exists in certain social situations, and it's not a question of choosing to be violent or non-violent. It's not a question of choosing to be violent or non-violent.
I agree with an awful lot of what everybody has been saying as far as the violence of this society. But it's very hard to say anything when you haven't done anything about it.
Confront all the backward ideas and backward things about this culture and this society. Overcome them, become a force for change, and bring about that change. But it won't happen by wishing it were so or by proclaiming it. It will only happen through direct struggle and confrontation. Direct struggle and confrontation.
And I feel that pacifism and nonviolence becomes an excuse for not struggling, for not fulfilling what I feel is a human obligation in this world to bring about revolutionary change and to destroy the imperialist system. Destroy the imperialist system. Destroy the imperialist system. Destroy the imperialist system.
Direct struggle and confrontation.
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 Destroy the imperialist system.
And to grasp the giganticness and the complexity of this huge totality of an unjust, dysfunctional system. Now, this system, as we know, makes claims to democracy and equality. It's even possible to lead an eventless, historyless life within it. And yet, we can't deny that the nature of the system is that it comes from somewhere else. And it cracks, and it crushes, and it scatters, and it sickens, and then it turns around and tries to convince. The trauma of the violence and the trauma of the injustice infuses itself onto all levels. It sickens the earth, the mountains, the rivers, the air, the plains, the forests. It sickens the communities, wrenching person from place and person from person. It sickens the families, breaking traditional bonds. And it sickens even the privacy of our own psyches, our feelings, our thoughts, our dreams. I really love this quote by the psychoanalyst Erich Fromm, that millions of people share the same form of mental pathology does not make those people sane. So the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder come to define everything about the society, from governmental policy to our own everyday experience. And there's dissociation that we experience, terrible disjunctures, cutting, slicing of our lives, mind from body, human from nature, man from woman, environmentalist from worker, soldiers from peace activists, police from citizenry, you from me. And they're thinking disorders. I mean, can you imagine that the answer to the world situation is more nuclear weapons? Or the idea that to fix the anomie that is inherent to mass society / empire is to get cell phones and have websites. And there's flashbacks. The collective dream world that we're presented with, which is the media, is filled with violence, reiterating, just like flashbacks of someone who has post-traumatic stress disorder, reiterating how we got here. This violence, violence, violence. And there's this dream of grandiosity, taking over more, controlling more, and into new frontiers of the imperial mind, into the privacy of our DNA, and into the air, and the electromagnetic frequencies and the microwave. And then there's that loss of esteem that we feel, the disorientation, the displacement, the grief, the terror, the angst, the powerlessness, the loss of belief in any means for change.
There's no way to be committed to nonviolence in the middle of the most violent society that history's ever created. I'm not committed to nonviolence in any way.
Overthrowing the capitalist system, overthrowing the capitalist system, overthrowing the capitalist system, overthrowing the capitalist system.
Racists, Gestapo pigs have to stop brutalizing our community, or we're going to take up guns, we're going to drive them out.
This system is going to be overthrown. It's going to mean a fight. And it's going to mean a lot of white people risking a lot of things. When they finally join on the side of the black people and the people of Vietnam and around the world who've already begun the fight. It's going to mean a fight. And it's going to mean a lot of white people risking a lot of things.
President Kennedy said, those who make peaceful revolution impossible only make violent revolution inevitable.
Violence can mean a lot of different things. We felt that doing nothing in a period of repressive violence is itself a form of violence. That's really the part that I think is the hardest for people to understand. That if you sit in your house and live your white life and go to your white job and allow the country
capitalist system overthrowing, the capitalist system overthrowing, the capitalist system overthrowing, the capitalist system.
And not just be the white people who wrung their hands when black people were being murdered.
Close to seeing those major changes, and I think that that makes a difference in terms of the ability of movements for change to emerge in the future. The fact that there's a history of resistance, there's a history of white people's participation in resistance, I think makes a difference to the ability of that kind of resistance to emerge again.
Do you think it will?
I think it already is.
The ruling class in their gold-coast decadence will walk their streets a little less secure tonight. If they hadn't dug it before, they'd better dig it now. They are the enemy.
This nation is in a state of turmoil perhaps unparalleled in our history.
Confront all the backward ideas and backward things about this culture and this society. Overcome them, become a force for change.
Could you incur full symmetry, measure it, infamy, Mr. President, gag the leader, suffocate, jagged needle, touch the blade, glad you need her, huffing pain, couldn't look me in the fucking face. Pigtails and switchblades, Cambodia, killing fields, suburbs, material shield, picket fence, barbed wire, incest, gone for hire, insecure, obese, opiate, overfeed, distant, Medicaid, couldn't look me in the fucking face. Pigtails and switchblades. Pigtails and switchblades.
Confront all the backward ideas and backward things about this culture and this society. Overcome them, become a force for change, and bring about that change. But it won't happen by wishing it were so, by proclaiming it. It will only happen through direct struggle.
Pigtails and switchblades.
We no longer wish to be treated as statistics.
Marxist, labor, dialectic, left, new left, anti-war, ban the bomb, peace, civil rights, black power, self-determination, peace, anti-Vietnam, anti-imperialist, nobody for president, U.S. out of North America, Chicano, Latino, La Raza, Asian, native rights, indigenous sovereignty, red power, prison rights, peace, women's, feminist, gay, lesbian, men's, environmental ecology, environmental justice, earth first, earth liberation, anti-toxics, anti-automobile, anti-computer, anti-development, community, communal, co-op, green building, organic farming, permaculture, natural foods, natural medicine, holistic health, anti-modern, anti-postmodern, hunter-gatherer, gatherer-hunter, primitive, pagan, peace, eco-feminist, eco-psychology, green, independent, libertarian, anarchist, anti-swoosh, anti-sweatshop, culture jamming, anti-Gulf War, anti-racist, anti-apartheid, anti-biotech, neo-Luddite. I want to take this opportunity to delve a little bit deeper into our story, our piece of history here. Because it was such a hidden part of history. It was partly hidden because, you know, the dominant history books didn't want you to know about it. But it was also history because there were no names. They were secret because there were no names. They were secret. They were secret.
Capitalism today commands the towering heights and has displaced politics and politicians as the new high priests and reigning oligarchs of our system. So capitalism and its principal protagonists and players, corporate CEOs, have been accorded unusual power and access. This is not to deny the significance of government and politicians, but these are the new high priests.
Let's look at it from a different point of view. Let's look at it from the point of view of the people in Bangladesh who are starving to death, the people in China who are starving to death, and the only thing that they have to offer to anybody that is worth anything is their low-cost labor. And the only thing that they have to offer is their low-cost labor. And in effect, what they are saying to the world is they have this big flag that says, come over and hire us. We will work for 10 cents an hour, because 10 cents an hour will buy us the rice that we need not to starve. And come and rescue us from our circumstance. And so when Nike comes in, they are regarded by everybody in the community as an enormous godsend.
What the multinationals have essentially done, they roam the world in search of the lowest wages, least benefits. They look for places where there are no implementation of human or worker rights, no occupational health and safety, no taxes, no regulations, no red tape. They go into these countries and they set up production they put their arms around very young women. That's what they want in the factories. So almost invariably, country after country, the workforce is 17 or 16 to 25 years of age. The women come into these factories with little formal education and they don't know their rights. They don't know the Salvadoran Labor Code. They never heard of Kathy Lee. They never heard of Walmart. They've never heard of the corporations which they ultimately work for. They're pulled into the global economy really with no tools to defend themselves. And when they try to learn their rights, they're fired.
I'm almost inclined to believe that the consciousness of the people, by and large, most charged up with trying to accomplish some sort of constructive change in the face of the WTO, in the face of globalization, in the face of all these things, is that the process at issue is something that originated in a speech delivered by George Herbert Walker Bush somewhere around 1990 or 91. Not so. Globalization, corporatization, the whole process that we're up against here has a rather greater longevity than that. You can start to understand it in the separation of man from nature, and that's the terminology used. The postulation that man is the signification, the personification, if you will, of God in the worldly dimension, not only apart from nature, but standing above nature, demonstrating this separateness and this supremacy, this superiority, this overarching entitlement by way of exercising dominion over nature, as will be signified by ultimately multiplying, growing plentiful, and populating the earth, a process which can only occur by way of displacing every other species, every other relation in the environment, and that being not only a goal, a noble objective to be pursued, but ultimately a divine enjoinder. The Europeans were synthesized out of a multiplicity of indigenous peoples with relations to the land not dissimilar for those encountered among indigenous peoples here at one time until the Holy Roman Empire was constituted by force of arms, compelling them to change their belief systems, their languages, and so forth, be re-engineered into something called Europe, which is an old Greek term meaning darkness and ignorance.
At one point, Blackwater had 600 operatives. They were pulling in about $240,000 a day at a time when the poor residents of the Gulf were being chastised for breaking into food stores and taking perishable goods when they were given non-functional debit cards from FEMA for $2,000 that wouldn't even work.
Desert Eagle, got Lady Liberty, spread eagle and fed needles. With unlimited prison cells for Negroes and smallpox for red people. The presidential rat race, fuck what the facts say as long as we tax pay. Nuclear bomb Contra, there's no Osama, Obama, just Bush and blackface. You have the right to remain violent. Anything you say will be whitewashed, so stay silent. Corporate privatized monsters who suck cock, play God from rape continents. Trying to swim out the shit we in. We're invalids who's as primitive as simians, who don't give two shits about the kids who teach your kids to match your ignorance. America needs a strong black leader to teach us, but I don't see none, so I'ma have to be one. I'm not just freaking speaking vegan, but eat machine guns. Bleeding Iranians for your entertainment, and a dumpster to throw your babies in, a two-car garage to put the Mercedes in, and depleted uranium for the garden you grow your tomatoes in. 41 to 50 shots for Halliburton, Blackwater and FEMA. This goes out to Sean Bell, Amadou Diallo and Abdul Louima. The Weather Underground, ELF, ALF, and anybody who's down with them. They can kill me, even if Mumi Abu Jamal's guilty, I'm still proud of him. Castle on the block, slanging rocks to rock Prada and pop they collar. I'm trying to assemble a squad of guys to hawk and start a Nork intifada. Cause these MFs killed Martin, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, and Kennedy with the same 9/11 read that broke the levees to call you a refugee.
They were being systematically humiliated. Families forced to take showers outside the convention center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. People displaced, put on airplanes, not told where they were going, when what was needed was a humanitarian relief operation. What the poor folks of the Gulf got was the politically connected mercenaries of Blackwater, USA. And it wasn't just Blackwater. It was like Baghdad on the bayou down there. It was as though the Iraq occupation had come home. The only thing missing was the Louisiana National Guard, which was somehow defending the state by occupying Iraq and Afghanistan. We're driving around and it was guns, guns, guns. I didn't see any food distribution. The Red Cross didn't even enter New Orleans for the most part in the immediate aftermath. They were positioned on the outskirts of the city. And so we were driving around and we saw these men dressed in black commando gear outside of this wealthy gated community. And so I saw the commandos patrolling outside of his gated community, and I went up and talked to them, and it turns out that they were former members of the Israeli Defense Force working for a company called Instinctive Shooting International. And they were operating a checkpoint on the streets of a U.S. city, not in the employ of the Department of Homeland Security, but of a man who was just making racist comments in the Wall Street Journal. And here they were on the streets of a U.S. city. And that scenario was repeated in places all throughout New Orleans, where the wealthy brought in their own hired thugs. I had another private security operator talk to me about how he shot up some people he described as black gangbangers on an overpass in the 9th Ward. Who's investigating the crimes of private forces in New Orleans? We've heard so many stories about unsolved deaths and missing people. And when the poor needed humanitarian supplies, what they got instead, it was guns, guns, guns.
September 11th, men armed with knives, armed with chemical, biological, or even nuclear weapons. The fanatics who terrorists, killers, September 11th, terrorists, Al-Qaeda, terrorists, Taliban, nuclear weapons, terrorists, 9/11 terror. My fellow Americans, we have already been attacked. Terror, terrorists, evil.
September 11th, in those days after the towers fell.
September 11th, ground zero. And suddenly the streets were full of sirens and there was fire in the sky. Terrorism, September 11th. Osama bin Laden declared war in America. September 11th, terrorists, a walking, talking weapon of mass destruction. Barbaric terrorists, terrorists for terrorism. September 11th, September 11th. The terrorism and danger. September 11th, September 11th, terrorism, mobile terrorism, the horror, terrorism, terrorists, 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 terrorist, terrorist, terrorism, September 11th, global terrorism, 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 September 11th, world terrorism, 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 September 11th, threat of global terrorism, terrorism, terrorist, global terrorism, 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 September 11th, 2001, global terrorism. Terrorist, global terrorism, terrorism, terrorist, September 11th, terror, terrorism, the attack on our homeland, back from the attack on our economy, and back from the attack on our way of life. Terrorist, it must be fierce and relentless and terminate terrorism, terrorists. You defeat them, it yearns to destroy not just individuals, but the entire international order.
Jersey. We're gonna get the nitty from the gritty right about now.
Started as a bunch of kids, I guess, just making some crazy music that was, because they were tied to like that punk rock shit, just like people are tied to punk rock shit now.
People with the fly mentality, that's always looking for the shit.
Falling in love is the ultimate act of revolution, and resistance to today is tedious, socially restrictive, culturally constricted, humanly meaningless world, that transforms the world. Where whatever formerly felt order, and now feels passion. Where she once was complacent, she now is excited and compelled to self-asserting action. The world which once seemed empty and tiresome becomes filled with meaning, filled with risks and rewards, with majesty and danger. Life for the lover is a gift, an adventure with the highest possible stakes. Every moment is memorable, heartbreaking in its fleeting beauty. When he falls in love, the man who once felt disoriented, alienated, and confused will know exactly what he wants. Suddenly his existence will make sense to him. Suddenly it becomes valuable, even glorious and noble, to him. Burning passion is an antidote that will cure the worst cases of despair and resigned obedience. Love makes it possible for individuals to connect to others in a meaningful way. It impels them to leave their shells and risk being honest and spontaneous together, to come to know each other in profound ways. Thus love makes it possible for them to care about each other genuinely, rather than at the end of the gun of Christian doctrine. But at the same time, it plucks the lover out of the routines of everyday life and separates her from other human beings. She will feel a million miles away from the herd of humanity, living as she is in a world entirely different from hers. In this sense, love is subversive, because it poses a threat to the established order of our modern lives. The boring rituals of workday productivity and socialized etiquette will no longer mean anything to a man who has fallen in love, for there are more important forces guiding him than mere inertia and deference to tradition. Marketing strategies that depend upon apathy or insecurity to sell the products that keep the economy running as it does will have no effect upon him. Entertainment designed for passive consumption, which depends upon exhaustion or cynicism in the viewer, will not interest him. There is no place for the passionate, romantic lover in today's world, business or private. for he can see that it might be more worthwhile to hitchhike to Alaska, or to sit in the park and watch the clouds sail by with his sweetheart than to study for his calculus exam or sell real estate. And if he decides that it is, he will have the courage to do it rather than be tormented by unsatisfied longing. He knows that breaking into a cemetery and making love under the stars will make for a much more memorable night than watching television ever could. So love poses a threat to our consumer-driven economy, which depends upon consumption of largely useless products and the labor that this consumption necessitates to perpetuate itself. Similarly, love poses a threat to our political system, for it is difficult to convince a man who has a lot to live for in his personal relationships to be willing to fight and die for an abstraction such as the state. For that matter, it may be difficult to convince him to even pay taxes. It poses a threat to cultures of all kinds, for when human beings are given wisdom and valor by true love, they will not be held back by traditions or customs which are irrelevant to the feelings that guide them. Love even poses a threat to our society itself. Passionate love is ignored and feared by the bourgeoisie, for it poses a great danger to the stability and pretense they covet. Love permits no lies, no falsehoods, not even any polite half-truths. Love even poses a threat to our society itself. Falling in love is the ultimate act of revolution, of resistance to today's tedious, socially restrictive, culturally constrictive, humanly meaningless world.
Daydreams way, she'll land you home.
Many things left for tomorrow. 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 Many things left for tomorrow.